Hi there, Zach from GawkBox here. Today on GawkBox Interviews, we're going to be talking to Keith, or BigHungry2x on Mixer. We're going to be talking about sponsors, sponsorship opportunities, how to talk to sponsors and companies that you'd like to work with, and which sponsorships are right for you and your channel. It's going to be a ton of useful information, so be sure to give it a listen. Let's jump into that interview right now. Cool. Well, let's dive right into this. The purpose of this series, I hope you've been able to see a couple episodes and know what's going on, is that we are reaching out to different Mixer streamers that we work closely with, different Mixer streamers who have different levels of expertise in different sort of places in the streaming world. We've talked previously about like health and fitness with TIE Fighter. We've talked about building a brand with Damn It Rooster, a dude who's got like a very distinctive brand. And so I wanted to come to you, Keith, Big Hungry, to talk about working with sponsors, working with companies, working with other people, and just sort of building yourself up as a streamer and working towards making it more of a professional career and a job and things like that, since I know that is one of the things that you excel at.
Sure. Yep.
So one of the things, I guess we can just jump right into it. Who are some of the companies that you work with that you're happy to work with? I mean, I know that we work with you pretty closely and it's always been a pleasure, but I'd love to know who the other people are that you involve in your streams.
Sure. Yeah. So as a Mixer partner, I work really closely with Mixer staff to do events and sponsored streams for new games or DLCs or anything like that.
Right.
Obviously, I work a lot with GawkBox. Recently, I've been trying to jump into more charity streams, and it's a little bit easier as a medium-sized streamer on Mixer.
Sure.
However, I still have the same challenges that a lot of people have when trying to gain sponsors and things along those lines, because charities don't work streamers that often are those lines. It's still a very new market for a charity stream and things like that, unless it's like a big event, like big events work with charities a lot. However, direct influencers is still a little tough. My other sponsor that I'm working with right now is actually my merch provider, Merch Room.
Great.
They are a growing company with streamers and cosplayers and a whole bunch of different art genres. And they've been really fun. They've been doing charity events and stuff like that. So
that's awesome. When it comes to working with Mixer or even with Merch Room, what do those interactions look like? Do you approach these companies? Do they approach you based on your audience or your size, or how do you lock down these relationships?
Sure. So after getting Mixer partnership, you'll get invited to specific events or game launches or things like that.
Right.
And it'll range between like if the game that's coming out or the event that's happening, if it's looking for high viewership or if they're looking for mass audience. So if they're looking for like top streamers, sometimes it's a little difficult for the new partners to get things like that.
Sure.
But if they're looking for widespread, such as like, let's get 300 partners playing this game and spread the word about the game.
Right.
It's very easy for new streamers or new partners to jump into things like that. As for working with a smaller company like Merch Room or GawkBox, we haven't done a charity stream yet, but I want to do something along those lines.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, so for like Merch Room, I recently did a charity stream with them, and they came to me with it. However, I've brought charity streams to them as well, and they've worked with me in being able to do it. So as long as like, so I work with most Merch Room. I do the social media aspect of their company. So when they came to me asking if I wanted to do a charity stream, it's more of a what kind of charity are we supporting? What can I do?
Right.
And like what date range, time range, all those things. And they took care of the whole thing. And all they wanted to do was just have streamers basically sign up for time slots and go from there. And then for the charity event that I did, it basically flip it around. I found the charity. I told them the time slot. I set the donation goal and set up the overlay and all that stuff, and basically turned it around and said, hey, would you guys like to support this? What would you guys like to put into it? And can you help me out with like, so when people bought my merch, a portion of the proceeds would go to the charity. So they just,
Got you.
They calculated all of that throughout the day and then told me how much was going to need to be donated from there. So they work really close and they're very helpful.
Got you. So it almost sounds like it's one part being in the right place at the right time and building your audience and being ready for those partnerships, like you mentioned with games that are coming out, and they'll just reach out to top mixer partners and being ready to know about those games and connect with those developers and do things like that. But there's also a level of proactivity, it sounds like, from your perspective, where you've got to prep these things, you've got to put together the overlays and put together this charity concept and approach these companies and say, hey, I want to do this. Instead of just waiting for them to come to you. Is there any other levels or any other things that people should know before approaching streamers? Like the charity example that you gave is a great one, where you prepped everything and you brought it to them and said, this is how I want to do it, and it worked out. Are there any other suggestions you have for approaching companies, approaching charities as a streamer to sort of prove that you are capable and also valuable to them?
Sure. So a lot of it is, like you said, a lot of it is prep. So if you're knowledgeable on what you're wanting to do for the charity. So if you're not reaching out to a charity specifically and you're just looking out for a sponsor to help you with your charity stream,
okay.
Do a small stream where it's just you raising money for charity, so you know what it's like. And then you have the experience, so you can reach out to those sponsors to help you with your charity stream and say, what can you do for me? This is what I'm doing. I think it would be great if you guys could be a partner in this event.
Interesting.
Or if you're reaching out to a charity specifically, if you already have something in place, you can give them the video or give them the link or give them this, the statistics of what you reached. So you could tell them how many viewers you reached, how much money you rose, in that amount of time, and go from there. A lot of it is you've got to be ready to go, and if someone comes to you, it's a lot of being a yes man type of deal.
Interesting.
If someone comes to you and you're not exactly prepared for it, don't turn it down because you're not prepared for it. Do your research, just tell the company, hey, I'm super interested in this, let me do my part in preparation, or let's have another discussion about this very soon, so that way I can be ready for you, because I don't want to be underprepared. So it's a lot of work in making sure that you know exactly what you need to do, so that way, because if you're doing a charity stream, your goal is to raise that much money for charity.
Sure.
So if you're not doing your part, no money's going to be raised, and you're either wasting someone else's time, or some people will feel like, or even you as the streamer might feel let down that you didn't raise enough money for the charity.
Sure.
And even though that's not the worst thing, it's self-gratifying when you can raise the money for charity, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So that and charity aside, it seems like there's another level of productivity there again that you're talking about, where you've got to be proactive with these people. You've got to prove that you're ready and that you want to talk and stuff like that. Both charities and just general sponsorships. What are some of the numbers or the metrics or the statistics that they care about when they approach you? I mean, I'm sure that it's somebody's job at each of these companies to look up mixer streamers and or streamers in general and figure out, what their audience size is, what their maybe engagement rate is. What are the numbers to know off the top of your head, and also try to improve that sponsors care most about in your experience?
Sure. So I actually had a sponsor contact me, or someone who wanted to be a sponsor contact me recently. And a couple of things for knowing off the top of your head is your outreach. So how many people are viewing your stream every stream. So knowing what sort of audience you're reaching as well.
Right.
So like numbers of people and how many of those people are in certain age groups. So if you're reaching
Sure.
a younger audience, chances are you're not selling them energy drinks, right? You're selling them games and DLCs and things along those lines.
Absolutely.
However, for like older audiences, people might be interested in things like G Fuel or any of their competitors or anything like that.
Sure.
And the other part of it too is, what kind of streamer are you? If you don't drink energy drinks on your stream, don't accept an energy drink sponsor. It doesn't make sense, you know. You don't want to create the false impression of who you are. I even had I had someone come to me recently and say, you run a very tight schedule with your stream. You stream specific days at specific times. But what happens if you get sick? Are you still coming on to stream?
Right.
The answer is no. You don't want to portray a false image of yourself. So if you're coming on to stream and you're sick, it just looks like you're streaming just for the views and just for the follows.
That's very interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
So the sponsor wants to see the same thing. If you reach out to an energy drink sponsor and you're never drinking energy drinks on your stream or anything, doesn't make sense.
Right.
Or like if you have let's say, I don't know, puzzle games. If you're not into puzzle games and you only play Call of Duty or Fortnite or any big shooters, right? And you go to reach out to a company that does puzzle games, or even they reach out to you,
sure,
and you say, "Oh, I'll play puzzle games all the time."
Yeah.
Well,
they're gonna look at those VODs and figure out that maybe you don't.
Right. Right. They want to see that you're knowledgeable and that you're actually passionate about what the sponsor provides. So
great. Finding out or establishing that you're a good match for any sponsor is great. I'm sure that there's a lot of sponsors who just sort of control select everybody and then just send a bunch of emails out looking for people to interact. So that's a good way to filter people out. As far as finding the metrics that you were talking about at the beginning of your little speech there, what's the best way to collect the data about your viewers?
So Mixer actually does a really good job on looking up what your analytics are.
Okay.
After each stream, it's usually right away, but maybe a few minutes after the stream, you can actually go back to see what statistics you created during that stream. So it'll tell you how many people viewed your stream that day or during that stream. It'll tell you how many people were viewing at one moment, as from logged in and not logged into Mixer. So you'll have anonymous as well as active viewership. It'll tell you how many people, if you're a partner, how many people subscribed, how many people followed, how many people hosts, all of that stuff. And although not all of those numbers are important, such as like sometimes sponsors don't care about how many people subscribed because they just look for outreach. Outreach is the biggest thing. Knowing your viewership, know many people on average about how many people are following per week is a good thing, because some people have different schedules. Like I stream indie games on Wednesdays, which is a very low amount of followers and a low amount of viewers, but the rest of my week we're playing shooters is a lot higher. But I like having variety in my stream. It's not all about the numbers. You don't want to be all about those numbers. It's creating an environment and a family and people who will support you by interacting with those sponsors and buying their products or anything along that line. It's not just robots viewing your stream, you know?
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. It comes down to views as well as engagement. I think we can speak to that too, as working in sort of an advertising adjacent company and caring about what our users do and the impact of each of our users' streams and all that. I think you're echoing exactly what a lot of the things that we look for when we reach out to new people to work with. And that's engagement level. It's the consistency of your concurrent viewership, right? Like if somebody spikes and they've got 120 concurrent viewers, and then they're going around saying, I'm, Mr. 120, I've always got 120 concurrent, and you look back and there's like 10, obviously that's going to put sponsors off and companies off and stuff like that. So Sounds like you're on track. You know exactly what you're talking about. As far as things besides like monetary gain, as far as, you know, obviously that's one of the big benefits of working with sponsors and stuff like that is maybe they'll pay you to talk about their product, or you get commission on the sales, or something like that. What are some of the other benefits that you get from working with companies like Merchroom or like us, maybe from like a credibility standpoint or an audience growth standpoint or anything like that?
Sure. Honestly, the most, putting monetary aside, because if you're going into streaming, money is not what you're going for. You're looking to because money is not in streaming right now.
Sure. We're working on it. We're working on it.
Right. It's growing, and sponsors like GawkBox will get you to that point. However, the reason people are streaming is because they're passionate about what they're doing, right?
Sure.
So if you're really interactive with your audience, and then you get a sponsor like GawkBox where you get to interact with your viewers by playing those games with them, or creating leaderboards about the games that they're playing, or whatever it may be. Those sponsors that allow interactivity to connect with your people even more is great. So having Merchroom, when people are buying your product, I have them take selfies of them with whatever they're buying. You know, if they bought a coffee mug, or if they bought a t-shirt or a coin or a keychain or whatever it may be. If they bought something, I actually have them take a selfie with it, and then I have on my own website a wall dedicated to all the photos that they've sent me, because that's what matters. It's the interactivity with your audience.
Sure.
So they have their own website dedicated just to them being an awesome part of the community. So creating more interaction with your people is what's beneficial of the sponsorship. The outreach is also great too, because those companies will shout you out. They'll give you a host. They'll tweet about you. You know. Right. I can only outreach to the people who I already have as followers, and then they spread the word from there. But the sponsor has their own set of followers, so if they're supporting me,
sharing the audience,
they reach out to a new audience. Right.
Absolutely. So that makes a lot of sense. And I think from the perspective of both of us being social media managers, I think we can both agree that every company that's got a social channel is just hungry for people, examples of people using their product, wearing merchandise of their product, or representing it in any sort of way. I can tell you that I'm not shy about retweeting people who are talking about GawkBox in an awesome way. People are like, I just got my GawkBox paycheck in, I'm buying a new game, and I'm like, hell yeah, I'm gonna retweet that. I want everyone to see this. So there's definitely a whole lot of audience sharing that can go on with corporations and companies and stuff like that. And I think if people don't think, or if people think that we don't see that, we definitely see all of it, right? I see everything that happens on Twitter. It's on my phone. It's on all of my computers. I see everything that happens. So it's like, if you're tweeting dope stuff about a company that you're working with, we're going to take note. Okay, pivoting just a little bit. What was I going to ask? What is the best way? Like I mentioned earlier, there's probably a lot of companies who just like control A, email list, mixer, enter, send email. What's the best way to detect and understand when a sponsorship might be sketchy or not worth your time, or maybe they're just trying to take you for a ride? What's the best way to identify those and shut those down? Sure.
It's funny that you say that, because there was one that reached out to me recently, and I'm not going to name because I don't want to say anything.
Sure.
But they reached out to me, and I thought it was interesting because I recently applied to one of their competitors, but didn't get it. And they reached out to me, and I was like, interesting. A product that's very similar, something that I was looking for.
Right.
So I looked into the company, and the email felt very specific to me, and it was the CEO. He actually looked at my channel and wrote out an email that sounded legit. Okay. So I was like, okay, maybe someone to look into. That's the competitor of the company that I actually wanted to apply for.
Sure.
Well, I looked into the company. The company was brand new. They had a very baby website
Mm-hmm.
and no social media outreach yet. And I looked at it and I was like, well, even though I could start with them being really young, I don't know their product. They have no outreach.
Right.
He could easily just be going to like anyone and sending that email. So
yeah.
I sent him a message and I appreciated him reaching out to me, but I wanted to make sure that as his company grows, maybe we could do something in the future. But a lot of it, to answer your question, a lot of it is you need to do your research. If you're getting an email and you're like, oh, sponsorship, don't just apply right away. You want to do your research about the company, because it's like what we said before. If you're not an energy drink person, why are you applying for an energy drink sponsorship, right?
Right.
So do your research about the company. Make sure they're legitimate. Look at their following. Look at who they talk to. Look at who they have as sponsors or who they sponsor already, right?
Right.
Are those people similar to you, or are you the outsider, right?
Sure.
So a lot of it is just doing your research, making sure that sponsor actually matches what you do.
Right.
So
what are some of the downsides besides just like being a mismatch and maybe misrepresenting yourself to your audience? What are some of the downsides of picking some of the wrong sponsorships? Is it just maybe being taken advantage of by the company and not really getting anything for your plug of their products? Is it just a waste of your time? What are some of the downsides to a bad partnership?
Sure. So taking a bad sponsor, one of it is a lot of wasting your own time, because if you are promoting this company and you have nothing to do with the company that is sponsoring you,
right,
none of your audience is going to care about your sponsor either. And
sure,
then on top of it, you're going to end up losing people from your stream or your platform or whatever, because you're selling a product you don't believe in yourself.
Of course.
People see you, they read you, they come to you because they trust you, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're passionate about something, they're going to be passionate with you. But
right,
if you're just here selling product A, no one's going to be interested in it because you're not interested in it.
Of course.
And it'll just feel like that you're just going out for the money grab instead of doing streaming because you enjoy streaming and because you want to grow an audience and you want to grow a community.
Right.
It looks like you're just out for the money grab rather than trying to actually offer your audience something that you believe in yourself.
Right.
So.
That's great. That was actually going to be one of my next questions, was how when you do land these sponsorships, how do you go on and promote these products and talk about them without seeming too salesman-y? Because that's less of what streaming and all that is all about. You can't stop every 5 minutes and be like, hey, okay, so we've got this, it's time for the, and do a whole nother sort of sponsored giveaway or whatever you want to call it. So that was going to be my question, but you answered it pretty nicely there by saying that by talking about products that you care about and that maybe you even like use and all that, that it becomes much more natural and it fits more naturally into your stream. It seems more genuine and people don't mind that as much. So
right.
That's a really cool bit of organic feedback that you've given there. I guess just one more question to wrap this up. I think a lot of people, when they get into streaming, one of the first targets that they set their sights on is a sponsorship or just relationships with companies in general. It's very exciting to, have these big talks and work with companies, and it's awesome. But what do you think are some milestones that people should hit before they start reaching out for sponsorships? I know it's not right for everybody right off the bat. So where do you think people should be before they start doing that?
Sure. So I work with a lot of smaller streamers right now, trying to help them grow and realize what place they stand in streaming.
Right.
And I don't see that in a bad way. I say it in a way of like, if you're reaching out to companies before you're even close to ready, it's like what we said, social media. If you say something to a community manager or to a company in general on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook or whatever,
right,
we see it.
Right.
So if you're applying to these big companies and you have a very small following and you have no social outreach or anything,
Right.
these companies see it and they say, this guy is literally just trying to get free stuff from us, you know.
Sure.
And they'll remember that. They'll remember that down the line, you know, especially if you keep doing it too.
Right.
So it's a lot of finding that balance, knowing what your fellow streamers or content creators are,
right,
or when they applied and got accepted, or what they were doing when they got accepted. So like the average right now for applying for Mixer partnership for Fortnite streamers is about 7,500 to 12,000 follows. But I have people applying for partnership at 3,000 follows, 5,000 follows, and they're getting rejected.
Sure.
It's knowing what the average is right now. So
interesting.
If you're going for companies like, let's say, G Fuel, and you actually drink a lot of G Fuel on your stream or something,
sure.
Knowing your social media outreach. So G Fuel does a lot with Instagram and Twitter.
Right.
And they don't necessarily care how much people are viewing your stream. That's not their big outreach. Their big outreach is social media. So even though I have a community of over 55,000 followers on Mixer, I got rejected by G Fuel because I only have less than 2,000 followers on Twitter.
Damn.
They
Is that
want
true? I thought you'd have a bigger Twitter following than that.
I don't think I can tell you right now. Let's see. What do I got?
We'll have to retweet you more often and get you over the
line. But that's the big thing. Yeah, I actually have less than 1,000. I have 738. So my Twitter outreach is not near what it should be.
Right.
So when I see people getting accepted by G Fuel for let's say having 20,000 followers on Mixer, but I have over double that, it makes me feel like I did something wrong. But if I go look at their Twitter outreach, and their Twitter outreach is like 5,000 people, that's the difference.
That's what they care about.
You have to know what your sponsor is looking for. They want streamers, but they want streamers who are using their social media platforms. G Fuel isn't using Mixer that often. They're growing into it because Mixer is growing now.
Of course.
But yeah, their main platform is Twitter. So it's knowing your sponsor and knowing what to do. So like I said, Mixer, if you want Mixer partnership and you're a Fortnite streamer and you're applying for partnership, know about the average, about what the current people are getting accepted at. For G Fuel, notice what they're accepting right now. They're accepting people who have Twitter outreach, not streamer outreach.
Right.
And so on and so forth. It's different per company. And I see people applying for things that they don't meet. So, and like I said, the community manager and those teams know. They know who you are. They've seen you tweet at them. They've seen you. They've seen you applying to the company when you don't even come close to their qualifications. So.
Great. Again, just comes down to doing your research, knowing what you're up against. It's really interesting saying that each company looks at different metrics for different sites and different platforms. That's totally true. And I can imagine why G Fuel would prioritize a high social media following. Okay, well, this is all great advice. I think that this is going to be helpful to other streamers and letting them know what to prioritize and what to think about when reaching out for sponsorships, whether they're trying to make themselves a little bit more money, grow their audience or whatever. This has been super helpful and great. And I can't thank you enough, Keith, for jumping on the phone with me. One quick thing, and it's a little bit off topic, but it's so interesting now and it's happening directly in the Mixer ecosystem. So I got to ask about it. Have you seen recently the mass migration of people from Twitch over to Mixer and Facebook Live?
It's crazy.
What do you think what's the deal with that? I mean, I've noticed there's like some monetization, oversaturation issues, but I'd love to hear it from someone who's a little bit more ingrained in the whole process.
Yeah, sure. So I actually reached out to two of the bigger people who moved over, and it's funny that you say that because it's a huge topic right now. It's a huge topic. There's a lot of bigger, they're more medium-sized on Twitch's values because Twitch, like, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of followers compared to Mixer, where If you're a medium streamer, you're anywhere between 50 and 75,000, right?
Sure.
Or well, 50 and 100, anywhere between there, you're a medium sized streamer.
Sure.
So having these streamers from Twitch that have like 200,000 plus switching over to Mixer is very surprising. It's very surprising. It turns out that a lot of these streamers have been thinking about it for a long time, but they've been waiting to see Mixer grow, or waiting to see Facebook gaming grow, or waiting to see what's happening with YouTube, because YouTube is very controversial right now.
Yep, of course, as always.
Yeah. So right now, you might see the big topic right now is Renee. Renee is a female streamer from Twitch.
Heard the name, yeah.
She just moved to Mixer, and I think she just did her final stream on Twitch recently. But she's been doing her last streams on Twitch over the past couple of weeks, and advertising that she's moving to Mixer. And her reasoning is she's reaching out to the medium-sized people as well as the lower audience, saying if you are a lower followage streamer on Twitch, you can't compete with the big guys. And if you get a partnership from YouTube or Twitch or any of these other companies, there's a rumor now. As a Mixer streamer, I'm not bashing these other companies. This is just what I'm hearing from these other streamers.
Of course.
There's a rumor that even though you're a partner, you're not really a partner. You just have priority queue on support and things along those lines.
Interesting.
So what I've heard from these streamers is that they're moving over to these platforms like Mixer because they want Mixer to they want to grow with Mixer. So even though they're losing most of their audience, I read statistics saying that about maybe 20% of their followers are moving with them to Mixer.
It's probably right. Huh?
And then the other 30% of them hate them for making the decision, and then the other 50% of them just don't even care.
Just disappear.
They just disappear. So the 20% that are moving with them are already giving them their follows and their subs and stuff like that, and they're starting off as baby streamers here on Mixer. And it's crazy to think that I have a following that's bigger than someone who had over 200,000 on Twitch. It's insane. But those streamers will grow very fast because they are bringing their social media outreach. They had 200,000 on Twitch. They have over 100,000 on Twitter. It's very easy for them to make a tweet and say, give me a follow on Mixer, my new platform. So that's what that social media outreach goes out to. But the reason, that's what I've heard, the reason they're switching over is because the oversaturation for mid to low streamers, as well as I hear that they are also upset with the current outreach of the community for Twitch. I've heard that the community is not acting as appropriately as it used to be. That Twitch is too large for its own good now, and they're getting a lot of.
You mean?
Sorry.
Trolls and the like, or you mean the actual community managers of Twitch, or do you mean the community, the users?
The users being trolls.
Yeah.
The staff, I'm sure, is. You know, I've met a lot of Twitch staff and met a lot of Twitch streamers and things along those lines. But from being how large Twitch is, they're getting audience that they don't even want, but they can't control it. So unfortunately, the streamers are the ones that get the brute end of it, and they have to make the decision from there. And the other portion of it is some platforms have very closed contracts. So Mixer allows us to stream. If you're a Mixer partner, you can stream to YouTube. You can stream to Twitch. You can stream to wherever. They don't care. Twitch, if you're a Twitch partner, you can't stream anywhere else. You have to stream on Twitch. And the goal of a streamer is maybe to be a community manager somewhere someday, to be a YouTube content creator after they can't do the live streaming anymore. They just do post-production videos or anything like that. And if you're a partner, you can't even consider that stuff.
Interesting.
So that's why that's the other reasoning why I've heard some people are switching over. It's a huge topic right now.
It is.
So.
It is. I've seen a lot of articles. The most prevalent quote that I see nowadays is that Mixer looks like Twitch used to, right?
I saw that. I saw that article.
We must have read the same article.
I think so.
It was the one that was like 3 million words long. It took me like an hour to get through. It's so long. But there were so many like good and meaty quotes in there. And it just goes to show just how much people are talking about this migration at the current moment. And we'll have to see what happens. I mean, if Mixer continued to grow, I think no one would be surprised, right? It's been growing continually, and it seems like it will continue to grow. So awesome. Well, this has all been great. It's been great chatting and getting all this advice from you. Like I said earlier, I hope that this is able to help out some people who are just getting started or maybe like in the middle of their careers, to grab some sponsorships that they've been looking at, to maybe hone down their numbers and really focus on some stuff and get some stuff done.
Sure.
We will have to catch up again soon. There's so many cool things that we're working on over here. And I know you live right by the office, or relatively close compared to the entire world. So there's a whole bunch of stuff. Unfortunately, nothing I can talk about here that's going to go out to production, but a bunch of really exciting stuff that's going to make the platform shine super soon. And we'd love to have you in on beta testing, as we always do. So thanks for being involved. Thanks for the conversation. And Keith, we'll have to catch up soon. Before I let you go, though, what are your highest prioritized plugs? What links should I put on screen in the description? You tell me what you want.
Right now, the big ones are... Actually, I just started up my YouTube channel, so that's pretty exciting.
Okay.
So yeah, right now it's Twitter, Mixer, YouTube. So all three of those, that order is what's relevant right now.
Great.
However, yeah.
Okay.
Twitter, YouTube, and Mixer are the big plugs right now. So.
Okay. I'll toss the links all around your head over here.
All right.
All right, man. Well, thanks again for joining us, and we'll talk again soon.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, cheers.
All right. Take care.